Hey everybody, thanks for watching today. We're going to be talking about the Cove 450 build that I have this far. Personally, a lot of it is unnecessary, but just there's a tasteful things that I did to make this bike feel more suited for what I like to do with it. Now before we get into it, I do want to say thank you to all those who went out of their way and bought some parts for their dirt bikes through me. Not all of it was for Cove 450, which is just fine. Rocky Mountain has everything you would need in terms of dirt biking and off-road. And I was able to give a pretty substantial discount most of the time to those people who ordered, because not all parts on there qualify for the dealer program. So I want to personally say thank you to all those guys who sent me emails and worked with me to get things going. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time, we're a new shop, Enduro Action Cycles, based out of Liberty, North Carolina. We're not doing anything crazy, we're not advertising all over the place. It's more of like a personal hearsay relationship. People hear about me from other guys I've worked on their bikes, and you bring them over. But aside from that, I'm trying to kind of spread the word of you don't need to spend $13,000, $14,000 to get into this sport that usually will change most people's lives and allow them to see things differently. So anyways, that's my spiel. Give us a like and a subscribe if you're into that kind of thing. I will be messing with other bikes, the GPX bikes. Lots of things going on with them, and a lot of testing has been going on. So anyways, yeah, so for those of you wondering why the long pause in video content, well, the holidays came and I have family as far north as New York and as far south as Florida, so it was a lot of traveling. And then when I came back, the weather just wasn't quite right to go out filming, and there were a few times I went out and just lost the footage. So it happens pretty often, but today we were able to get a good one. It seems like the types of helmets that I use don't work good with the mount. I have one of those chin mounts that kind of strap to the chin protector of the helmet. But yeah, so we're figuring things out. I know a lot of people were so, I guess, concerned with the lack of content, not only with my channel, but all over YouTube. It didn't seem like there was a pause, and I just think people were just out enjoying the bike, The YouTubing thing is cool and all, but sometimes it takes the fun out of the ride. So I just think there was a lot of people out riding it, and if there's no chirps, no complaints, that's a good thing. It means there hasn't really been any major issues with this bike. The only thing I've really seen is that one guy melted his tank, and that was venting issues and stuff. It's all things we're aware about, but he was taken care of, and I think Gary personally went out of his way and got in contact with him, so that's pretty cool. Aside from that, I haven't seen any major gripes. No issues, no braking prematurely. Just pretty cool. Now to the good part. So let's talk about what I've done to this bike so far. Off the top of my head, I'm just going to name a bunch of parts, and maybe we'll go through and explain why I did it. So the first one was the AliExpress steering stabilizer. We got hand guards from Chirby's, whatever ones you like, just make them fit, they'll work. I have, man, it's hard to think of off the top of the head, but there's not much. I got the ECU remapped. I have a free-flowing Rally Pro exhaust that I got from Cove USA Direct. A 51 tooth rear sprocket. And then tires of my choice. Other than that, oh, can't forget SXS skid plate. That's an important one. The stock skid plate will crack and soften up if you hit it on a few rocks. So it still looks good, and the SXS plate will kind of do its job even though it's cracked underneath there. But I would just do it before the stock one gets bad enough, because if it gets bad enough, I don't know. Let me know, whoever has a beat up one, what happens, but I'm sure it'll crumble away and then your add-ons won't work as effectively. But starting off with that steering stabilizer, I kind of put it on there because I've never had one before. Now I know this ain't a Scott's, I know it's missing a few things like the high-speed valve, and overall it is just not a Scott stabilizer, which to me is fine because I'm not ripping through the desert. I don't need that reliability from it. I don't need the performance from it. Just kind of want to see what they do to begin with. Now I've been trying to play with this thing and adjust it. I don't know what I'm doing, but I mean, I haven't felt any big deflections, which I guess is what it's supposed to do. So we'll see. I'll keep playing with that and get back to you guys later on and how it does after, I guess, a long-term review. Now the mapping, I think this is probably the most important thing, because gearing and all that other stuff is preference. It does suffer from pretty lean, low RPM fueling, which I mentioned in the last video. Now it's not a deal breaker on the bike, you know, you can still ride it and get by just fine. But riding these types of trails and woods that I like to do, it is pretty annoying. You will stall out a bit, and just for a nice, cooler, smoother ride, I think that is the #1 thing you should do. And I also have the advanced timing key that Joe Henner makes. Now in this video, I do not have it installed. Well, it is installed, I just kind of put the timings back to standard, because we got, I don't know, 5 inches of rain the week before this, a ridiculous amount of rain, so I was expecting some soupy trails, which they look good, but it's kind of that loose clay from, you know, those of you from the southeast know what I'm talking about. It looks dry, but when you ride in it, you're just smushing around everywhere. So I was like, I don't want that extra oomph down low. All that wheel spin is going to get me in trouble, and this is my ride home. So I just popped off the left side cover and pretty much retarded the timing back to standard. Wow. And I also wanted to see what the Pro exhaust did with the Pro mapping as well, just to see how those guys who are spending the extra money to get this stuff out of the box. And I want to say it's really good. I mean, I haven't tried it with the stock gearing, and I probably won't, just because it's not what I'm intending to do with this bike. By all means, the stock gearing is great if you're dual sporting. You know, if you're just using this simply for travel and adventure, I don't think you need to change the stock gearing. But a mapping, you know, a new map would be better. Well, I thought that was the area where I heard some diesel pop, but you'll hear me throughout the video complain a couple times. So I did have a get off with this titanium pipe, and I did have an air leak that I found later on between the connection where the mid pipe and the silencer meet. So it's enough to feel it by hand. You don't even have to spray anything to see if it's bubbling or nothing. I could feel a good amount of air coming out, so it could have been causing the D-cell pop that I was hearing throughout this ride. It's no fault of the mapping, because it was awesome until I dropped it. Probably screwed some things up. So later on, I'm gonna loosen everything, pull it apart, try to realign it, see if I can get rid of that. If not, you know, I can throw on some exhaust paste to kind of seal it. But it's no issue. It's not dented. I don't think it's bent, because that, if it is, then it's made of cheese. But it would have dented before it bent, I think. But anyway, that exhaust is real nice. It's great quality, but it is absurdly loud. So for those of you that want a quieter ride, you might just be better off buying a straight through mid pipe off of I don't know, Uncle Wang's, I think it's called. Or I think, what's his name? There's a guy, Mark, on the Facebook groups. He's coming out with a mid pipe that you can purchase as well. He's a good guy. We've been chatting back and forth, and he's getting a lot of aftermarket things done for this bike. So you always gotta support the people doing the legwork for this type of thing, because that's everyone's biggest complaint is the aftermarket. So there's people working on it. We just need to be a little patient. It's only been a few months, but it has grown tremendously. I will say, because of that advanced timing, I am considering going back to a 52 sprocket, because the conditions we have here, and most of the time riding dual sport tires, it rips so much you get wheel spin a lot, honestly. So I'm going to throw on some knobbies and try it with the stock 51, or not stock, but what I have now, 51.2 sprocket, to see if it helps. Because riding true knobbies really brings out the performance of this bike. It's just getting there. I don't want to be buying, you know, new knobby tires every 2 or 3 rides. Yeah, the Tusk D Sports don't really cut it for me. I think they're a great tire for the bargain, but I'd rather have better performance than the mud type stuff, because sometimes this bike was getting away from me. Yeah, these little hills are pretty fun. The thing I like about this bike is it does make these easier air scramble loops a lot more exciting, because it adds a bit of a challenge to it. Now, if I'm not really getting challenged on my ride, I'm not enjoying it so much. That's just, I guess I just like the tougher stuff, I don't know. But, yeah, these are really good trails. This is River's Edge again, just like the last video. But it's probably the closest thing to me, so it's where I'll be doing a lot of videos. if you can hear that, but I was applauding the rear shock on this bike. So, like I mentioned, it's still stock. I messed with the clickers a good bunch, but I was truly amazed at how plush and soft I was able to make it, opposed to how it feels out the box, you know, stiff and rigid. You know, that's really good for sand dunes and big hits, but I'm not riding that stuff. And yeah, it feels like a cloud. That rear shock just sticks to the ground. I'll see if I can get the clickers later on and maybe put them in the description, but it just does not get off the ground, and I love it. If I want to get some air on a jump, I can, but it's just going over the roots and rocks. It doesn't leave the ground. It's incredible. And the forks are right there too. You know, they're a little more on the stiff side. I guess the mid valve is a little more harsh. I don't know. I haven't gotten the suspension yet. That's something I'll be doing soon, but the suspension works very good. I don't think a lot of people need to revalve it unless you have that money and laying around and you want to do it. It's definitely one of the better things to do. But for those people that want to push this bike and want as minimum as possible, I'd say the two performance upgrades that you would need is a new ECU mat and the advanced timing key. Then gearing is all preference. Maybe with those two upgrades the stock will work just fine for you, but I think those are the two probably best bang for your buck things. I know a lot of people, not a lot, but there was a handful of people that weren't very impressed with the timing key, and that's fine. You know, everybody has their opinion. I don't think it makes more horsepower, it just moves the power delivery down. So something I will say is if you don't torque these down properly after installing them, like the locking nut that goes on the flywheel, it will slide back to standard position. So just make sure you're properly torquing it down when you install everything back together, and you should be able to feel that difference in power delivery. But those two are by far the best bang for your buck that transforms the bike. I'd be interested to try it with stock gearing, I guess, just to see if you can still ride off-road and be able to cruise that well on the highway. That would be amazing. But I really like this lower gearing that I have on here now. So we'll see. I did plan on racing the NC Hair Scramble series on this bike, but it really is a lot of work, and I'm not sure I'm up for it with how busy I am. So I don't know, let me know in the comments if you want to see me, I guess, suffer for 2 or 3 hours at a time to see how the bike does. You know, I think we all know it's rider more than bike, and this bike is truly capable of doing that type of riding. So if not, I'm probably going to be on the FSC 300. I think that's a pretty good hair scramble bike. Now I'll be racing the hard enduros on the TSC 300, which is also proven, you know, it's pretty much a KTM, the carbureted one, with minor differences, of course. But it's pretty close. A lot of the stuff swaps over, and I've got a very nice build going on that, which I'll make a video later on. So if you're still watching, I do appreciate it. I kind of just wanted to make some footage of me riding and rambling about parts. There is a long list of growing stuff coming out for this bike, so whatever it is, pick your poison, and I'm sure you'll be happy. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.